Hey, what's going on everyone? It's Steven here, and I'm actually very excited to bring you this video for my channel. It's one of the most exciting things I've ever purchased as far as tech goes. Now, a disaster recently occurred, and my main editing machine, the 2012 15-inch Retina Macbook Pro, suffered some liquid damage and wasn't working anymore, so it was time for a new computer. I sold the MacBook on eBay and started figuring out what to get next. After some lengthy thought and research, I decided on the late 2013 Mac Pro, the quad-core version. For my budget and the type of work I do, it was my best option. And yes, I'm fully aware of building your own PC as an alternative. It's a powerful yet quiet and compact desktop computer that has some upgrade options down the line that you can extend the lifespan of the machine, and it's fully optimized for Final Cut Pro, my main video editing software. Anyway, this is somewhat of a dream machine for me, and it's yet another item I've knocked off my tech wish list video, which I'll leave linked in the description down below if you're curious. But anyway, check out my unboxing and review of the late 2013 quad-core version of the Mac Pro. So getting into this unboxing process, Apple puts a nice amount of attention to detail into the initial brown packaging with a compact rectangular box that features a peel strip. Up next, you'll find the actual Mac Pro box in all black, and you can tell a good amount of attention to detail was applied here. It's a boutique kind of box with some nice textures, graphics, and embossing with a matte finish. Here are the specs for the machine I purchased, which is the entry-level quad-core version. The main highlights being the quad-core Intel Xeon processor, 12GB of DDR3 ECC memory, and a 256GB flash storage that's PCIe based. I also thought it was pretty cool that you get some of the iWork suite apps for free, especially Pages and Keynote, which I plan to use extensively in the future for productivity. Just like the outer shell brown box, this box also features a peel-away strip, which is nice as you're a little less likely to mangle your box, and it might even help with some resale value. So opening the top cover, you'll find a brochure nicely tucked in that provides you with a few cool graphical and color-matched messages welcoming you to your new Mac Pro. You'll also find included the exclusive black Apple stickers, which are pretty cool as your usual Apple product comes with a standard set of white stickers. The actual Mac Pro is enclosed in the box with upper and lower level styrofoam enclosures and is covered in a protective plastic layer. The bottom styrofoam enclosure holds the black color matched power cord that actually has a cool sleek design to it that's flush with the I/O when plugged in, which I'll demo in a little while. I've checked out this computer before at an Apple store, so nothing too surprising here, but just an FYI, it weighs around 11 pounds, so it's deceivingly heavy, and the top's opening allows for your hand to fit in and use the lip as a handle, which helps with transport. After peeling off the plastic, the aluminum shell's cylindrical design reveals itself, and I personally think this computer looks amazing. Very cool, very sleek and stealth. I see it as a work of art. I think that's part of the appeal for me. Its appearance and innovative design makes it that much more inspiring to work on. Its compact size makes it kind of feel like a desktop accessory rather than the massive tower-style designs of desktops from the past, which I think is a good thing. So far it seems like a well-executed product, but what does this thing consist of? So technically, because it's a cylinder, there's no backside, but there is an opening for the input-output area, which features the 3.5mm speaker and headphone jacks, 4 USB 3.0 ports, 6 Thunderbolt 2 ports, dual gigabit Ethernet ports, which I will likely never utilize, and an HDMI 1.4 out, which does not support a 60Hz refresh rate for a 4K monitor. Oh, and no SD card slot, which I would have really appreciated. Now, I wanted to touch on Thunderbolt here for a little bit. The Mac Pro features 3 Intel Falcon Ridge Thunderbolt 2 controllers, with each one supporting and driving 2 Thunderbolt 2 connectors, giving you a total of 6 ports. The 2 graphics cards, the AMD FirePro D300's outputs, are available to any of these Thunderbolt 2 ports, as well as the HDMI port. They are also fully backwards compatible with Thunderbolt 1.0. Now, what's cool about Thunderbolt 2 is it enables 20 gigabits per second of data transfer, which allows for 4K video support, a big theme with this Mac Pro. So I'm currently running a Dell P2415Q 24-inch monitor with this Mac Pro. It's actually a UHD resolution monitor and not true 4K, but it's very close. Running that display at 60 Hz from the Mac Pro via Thunderbolt 2 uses around 14 gigabits per second. So it's better to use the other available ports for any Thunderbolt 2 devices you want to connect rather than daisy chain. That'll ensure you optimize performance. So ultimately what these Thunderbolt ports allow you to do is support up to two 4K monitors at once. The other would need to be connected via HDMI. Alternatively, you can connect up to 6 2560 by 1440 displays using all of the Thunderbolt ports. Personally, I won't need more than maybe 2 UHD displays and would potentially use the other ports for hard drive expansion with a faster data transfer rate compared to what USB 3.0 provides. But back to the I/O. As I mentioned earlier, here's how the power cord looks when plugged in. Nice and flush. The power supply on the interior of the cylinder is rated at 450 watts. Another cool thing about the I/O is there's some rectangular shaped LED lighting that activates for about 15 seconds or so whenever you quickly rotate the Mac Pro, which is pretty cool and useful. The lighting on the power button is always engaged when the machine is on. Now rotating towards the bottom, you'll see the Mac Pro font. Apparently all of this text is engraved by a fiber laser in Apple's factories. A very cool attention to detail. The bottom is all supported by this rubber ring as well. The next thing I wanted to touch on was the cylindrical case that surrounds the Mac Pro's internals. This has generated a wide variety of opinions, but I just think this thing looks amazing. It's such a cool piece of engineering. It's a graphite-looking color that's highly reflective and almost mirror-like quality to it. I really like that, and it makes it stand out and catch your attention. The story of how it's made is an interesting one. In the factory, it starts out as this kind of oblong hunk of aluminum that's gradually stretched out through a few processes, which Apple showcases in a very cool video. I'll leave it linked down below in case. But anyway, the techniques employed here are known as deep draw stamping and hydraulic impact extrusion. The same techniques for producing fire extinguishers and scuba bottles. Apple also has the aluminum anodized to complete the finish. The aluminum is oxidized, turning it essentially into a rust. So how this is done is an electrical current is run through the aluminum in an acid bath, which produces that layer of rust, or aluminum oxide. The surface layer of that rust has micropores in which a colored dye can be applied before the surface is sealed by boiling it in hot water. This is the same process that's been applied to many Apple products like their MacBooks, the iPod Nano, and others, and is seriously impressive. It's what gives the surface a more durable finish than if it was just simply painted on. The difference with the Mac Pro is that it seems to incorporate a glossier finish than those products. Another unique aspect of this Mac Pro is Apple finally gets out of your way and allows you to easily remove its shell. They provide a tactile unlock switch. This switch, by the way, has some serious grip to it. It almost feels sharp to your skin, which caught me by surprise. As an FYI, you cannot run the Mac Pro with the shell removed. Anyway, once you've got the lid unlocked and removed, the internals are revealed. So the way this computer is structured is there are 3 boards that connect to the heatsink and main logic board at the bottom of the tower. Along the sides, you'll find vertical RAM slots, which can be configured up to 64 gigabytes. The ultimate setup being 4 16GB RAM sticks for each slot. It's nice to see that the RAM is replaceable and upgradable here. My version came with a total of 12GB of DDR3 RAM. In between the boards and heatsink is the processor, which in my case is a quad-core Ivy Bridge Intel Xeon clocked at 3.7 GHz with turbo boost up to 3.9 GHz. A big factor in my decision to purchase this Mac Pro is that the CPU isn't modified by Apple, so it's upgradable all the way up to a 12-core processor. One criticism some have for this Pro-level machine is it doesn't support dual CPUs, which I personally don't have any use for. Maybe Apple intended to make up for this by providing dual GPUs. One random note here. I love how all the boards, RAM, and even small screws are color matched in black and gray. Another great touch. So somehow the engineers over at Apple designed the Mac Pro to be cooled by a single fan. That fan actually rests near the top and pulls in cool air from the bottom vents of the machine. Somehow that air is quietly exhausted at the top. The thermal core is in the shape of a triangular prism heatsink that manages to fit into the cylindrical case, and it looks like it took some design cues from Apple's Airport Extreme and Time Capsule. The fan mostly averages a speed of 790 RPM and under a full load can max out at 1900 RPM, which I've never even remotely come close to. It's pretty much silent to my ears all the time. However, it does tend to warm up during heavy video editing. Now on to maybe the most important component in this computer, at least from a purchasing perspective, which are the graphics cards. The dual AMD graphics cards come in the form of the entry-level D300, the mid-level D500, or the high-end D700. They're all workstation grade and not a typical consumer card, with emphasis being placed on heavy usage and reliability. From numerous reviews and reports I've read, there isn't a massive performance difference between the D300 and D500. These cards support photo editing and simple video editing just fine. The D700s are for those doing serious video effects work and 3D rendering. The D300s my model came with feature 2GB for each card with DDR5 VRAM. The way these cards work on OS X is one GPU is set up for display duties, while the other is used exclusively for GPU compute workloads. Interestingly enough, Final Cut Pro is optimized by Apple to take advantage of both GPUs in compute tasks. So the D300 is the base option for the $3,000 Mac Pro and is closely equivalent to the AMD FirePro 7900. The D500 is included with the stock 6-core configuration, and apparently it's a D700 clocked significantly lower, has fewer stream processors, and offers less RAM at 3GB. The D700, which features 6GB of RAM, is very similar to the FirePro W9000, just significantly underclocked to meet the thermal requirements of the Mac Pro. A quad-core version of the Mac Pro can actually be paired with this option or the D500s from Apple's website. The GPU is somewhat of a tricky purchase decision, as upgrading your GPUs down the road isn't the greatest option, and I'll explain why. Teardowns have shown that the GPU is removable but not really intended to be user upgradable, mainly just serviced by Apple themselves. Apple doesn't offer an upgrade program and the cards are proprietary. Their interface connects to the Xeon CPU via a custom high-density connector and flex cable on the bottom of each GPU card. So unless you purchase the Mac Pro with the card you wanted, the only way to upgrade the cards internally is to find someone who sells a spare pair of D500s or D700s. If you did find spares, then the cards are totally upgradable, but it's somewhat of a risky job. Ideally, it would have been nice for Apple to provide an upgrade option down the line, as this is a Pro machine and it's inevitable that the current FirePros included will age. Maybe they figured people will just buy the next updated model whenever it comes out rather than attempt any upgrades. Since I've had it, this quad-core model has been serving me quite well, with zero lag, keeping up the UHD display, and handles all my 1080p video editing in Final Cut Pro easily and exports really quickly. I don't do any heavy effects work on videos. As far as Final Cut and GPU usage goes, a report I read from anontech.com stated that a majority of video work is handled by the CPU. The GPU is used to accelerate certain components. The CPU handles basic rendering, scrubbing and playback, and applying video effects. The GPUs kick in for rendering those effects. So overall, I love this machine, and it's a great tool for video editing. Final Cut Pro is really well optimized and handles everything I throw at it with ease. I haven't experienced a single crash or freezing with this machine like I did with my old MacBook Pro. From someone who appreciates design and engineering, I find this computer to be fascinating. They've managed to create a high-performance machine that features quality components while being compact and small, with an awesome-looking shell to create a very cool nano workstation. It's only 9.9 inches in height and 6.6 inches in diameter. I would have liked to have seen an option in the middle of its life cycle to have some sort of upgrades for the GPUs to help extend this machine's lifespan. And if I'm nitpicking, it would have been nice to have an SD card slot. It's nice to see that Apple still supports workstations and made a big push to completely change the form factor. I love the fact that it's such a modular machine and looks so cool on a desk and zips through OS X and all of my applications. It's an innovative piece of tech from the future that evokes images of Star Wars and Darth Vader, and I'm totally thrilled with it. Thanks for checking out this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Also, make sure to check out some of my other videos and keep an eye out for me in your sub box, as I'll have plenty more coming your way. I'll see you in the next one.